Kemi's right. Lunch is for wimps. So if you eat lunch, sorry, but you're just going to have to vote for someone else. I'm Harriet Langley Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello and welcome to Non-Censored, the podcast that wraps up all the best bits from my very real daily radio show into one easy-to-digest highlights package. I'm joined as ever by my producer, Martin, and what a show we have for you this week, eh, Martin?
Oh, yes, indeed. We spoke to Lee Anderson about the social media storm he started this week. A true crime podcaster tells us what she's learned about the alleged killer of United Healthcare's CEO. And Eshaan Akbar joins us to rate the South Korean president's apology.
Before this week's show, I should just mention that our Patreon has some exclusive videos. There's an interview with disgraced TV chef Craig Romit that went up last week, and there's a video of our interview with Professor Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who's talking to us about his new book, Wrestle Me Jesus. This won't be on the podcast. So if you want to watch it, head over to patreon.com/noncensored and sign up.
You'll also get all our regular segments in video and some bonus podcasts, such as our Q&A time for questions. And we're recording one of those next week. So if you have questions for Harriet, me and Eshaan, go to patreon.com/noncensored and ask it.
But on to this week's show. The world was rocked by the brutal, cold-blooded murder of a health insurance CEO. But not everyone is shocked. Some people, can you believe it, find it fine, basically, and are joking about it. To find out why, we spoke to the host of the Truthful Crime podcast, Tressie Law. Let's take a listen. Tressie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is so important, and I'm so grateful that you have got me involved. I'm so excited to speak to the United Kingdom.
Well, we're very excited to talk to you, Tressie, as a long-time listener, first-time caller.
You who I spoke to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Producer Martin here for all your producing needs. Hopefully no crimes go down while you're on air with us. Although at least we'd have the right person with us to bring the culprits to justice.
Yeah, at first I was super impressed by how much you knew about our podcasts. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, you knew too much.
Yes, I kept on talking, didn't I? Yes.
You knew a lot. You kind of knew individual episodes and stuff, but I'd already agreed to appear.
Well, I mean, please, just for some of our listeners who might not know about your podcast, tell them a little about Truthful Crimes.
Yeah, okay. So Truthful Crimes, we've been doing this since 2018. We are just people we're not interested in glamorizing these people. We're not interested in turning them into celebrities, giving them any outlaw glamour. What we want to do is get to the bottom of this in a very serious way, but just have fun with it.
It's fun, it's truthful, it's crime. What more do you want?
Now, Tressie, what do you think it is about this particular case that has caught the world's attention? Everyone is looking at this case.
Mm-hmm. So when a CEO is murdered in cold blood in the street in New York City, surrounded by cops, the interest is incredibly high. This has been the biggest story in the U.S. now for a week. And we want to explore on Truthful Crimes, why has it captured the public's attention like this? And what drove someone to kill? What drove him to this? What radicalized him to do this? And why has the public taken him to their hearts? And what is his gym routine? What kind of food does he eat in a day? Where did he get that backpack? It's sold out. Turns out it's sold out. What kind of dream vacation would he take? And who's he dating?
Right. But Tressie, I just think this is clearly a hate crime against CEOs. They should be a protected species of people, and that should be where the focus is.
Okay, so Brian, who was the CEO who was killed, he by Luigi Mangione. Where's the jacket from? We're gonna get to the bottom of that. Who's the snitch at McDonald's? I'm gonna find out.
Right.
The CEO that he did murder, was it an act of heroism? How does he keep his hair so great?
No.
He had taken rejected claims in his time as CEO from 9% to 23%. That is a lot. That's almost a quarter of claims are getting rejected under United Health. And a nation that is just at breaking point with its healthcare, with the finances of the nation as they are, people, cost of living, a little of that in the UK. Imagine if you had this system in the UK, maybe you'd have medical CEOs looking over their shoulders like Henry Hill from Goodfellas. Who knows?
Well,
we're going to get to the bottom of that.
This is a very good point, Tressie. I mean, I think there's a few different elements at play in this story. One, the healthcare system in free fall, the income inequality in America, of course, causing great divide. And then, of course, the alleged killer being just so sexy.
Well,
it's very distracting.
It's irrelevant. Of course it's irrelevant.
People don't know what to do with it. It's breaking the internet.
The first thing we all saw was that beautiful smile. Didn't we see his beautiful smile? And suddenly it's like, Luigi Mangione has been arrested, but he's a friend of mine. He was with me for 48 hours. And, we're all seeing the memes and they're really funny.
He's a man who,
Tressie.
he's a murderer.
Well, of course. And Tressie, I mean... There is a serious point here.
Yes.
It's very easy to be distracted by the aesthetics,
the muscles
of an athletically built, juggernaut of a sort of model man. If it weren't for the alleged psychopathic murdering.
Tressie, I did listen to the last episode of Truthful Crimes, and a great amount of it was just on Luigi's looks. With you and your co-host, I don't know what she was called.
Christina.
Christina. She had very irritating high voice.
No, that's not true.
You've got to give them time, and you see that they really are. They're a dynamic duo, and they work together. And you've really got to, sit through quite a few episodes in order to understand
Martin.
it, Harriet.
And you have. I know this. You said that you like to start all over again every time you go on vacation.
Oh, I'll do a re-listen at the drop of a hat. I'll do it.
600 episodes. That's amazing.
It just felt that you both were rather like giggling little schoolgirls about this man.
Yeah, we keep it fun. We keep it fresh because just because a crime is truthful doesn't mean it can't be a lot of fun. That's the whole vibe. And there is an important
message?
center. Yeah, of all of this. The U.S. healthcare system needs. Well, it needs to be a focus for politicians because this is the sort of crime that will happen and be enjoyed as long as the private healthcare system in the U.S. Carries on the way it's going,
Do you fear that this kind of event might drive CEOs underground? That they might stop. As you say, they're already taking their names off websites. What next?
CEOs.
Start operating from bunkers?
Oh my God!
Are they going to wear disguises to and from work? Is this the world we want to live in?
I could do.
Where the big boss.
The CEOs.
I mean, this is cool. Do an episode.
3 CEOs getting on top of each other's shoulders, wearing one large trench coat and pretending to be...
Could be 18 feet high. That would be so weird. Yeah, really long trench coat.
CEOs tend to be taller than, the average man. So it would be a very tall person in a trench coat. Is that the world we want to live in?
I would like to live in that world. That'd be cool. Imagine seeing all these giant guys walking around and then you're like, oh, it's 3 rich guys. I see.
Yeah, that would be quite cool, actually, now I think of it.
Tressie,
That is pretty cool.
would you be so invested in this case
Yeah.
if you didn't think Luigi was so attractive? And that's in air quotes, because I don't find CEO murderers attractive.
Okay, so what kind of murderer would you find attractive?
Oh, okay. Well, I think maybe a sort of a Victorian one.
Okay.
Just that they had wonderful coats.
Oh, the cloaks, the beautiful cloaks, yes. A good
Yes.
tailor makes all the difference.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we did a 5-parter on Jack the Ripper, who obviously identity unknown. But it was cool. Did you like how when we did our British accents? We did them a
Oh,
lot.
it
We got a lot
was
of
so
emails.
good.
We got a lot of
Yes,
emails
yes.
praising. Oh yeah, well, he was hanging out with the prostitutes down Dirty Dicks.
Oh, so good.
Understand.
It was cool.
So good.
I'll go kill you, Jack the Ripper. That's how you speak.
Right.
That
I
is
don't
how
think
we
I'll be
speak
listening to
sometimes.
Did you think someone else came in there and spoke? So, murder is a serious business.
Yes.
However, there's nothing wrong with keeping things light and fun. And maybe a guy comes along who, he's a killer, but he makes you download the Duolingo app on your phone. And maybe you start to learn a little Italian in case you ever meet. Never give up. Never give up on dreams.
Tressie, could I ask just one more question before you go? One of the allegations here is that Luigi Mangione fabricated, 3D printed a gun in order to commit this crime. Do you think that there's a risk that people may perform copycat killings, but rather than fabricating a gun, they might fabricate the position of CEO in a large healthcare company in order to reject 25% of the claims, thus killing thousands of people across the country? Do you think that's a risk?
It is a risk. It is a risk. And, health insurance is a risk. It's all about risk and rewards. So choose your path. 3D print a CEO position if you want. All I'm going to say is there's likely going to be some sales after the holiday season, and you can pick up a 3D printer pretty cheap, probably. Maybe. Who knows? Print what you want.
I think it's fair to say that if you are going to kill anyone, make sure you look good while you do it.
Oh yeah, because that's we're keeping it fun on the podcast, and it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant what he looks like.
It's just been fun.
It's just been it's nice, and there's some pics out there that tell a story that we want to tell. So,
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Tressie.
Okay, bye.
You can't book the guests again.
Sorry, it's a bit much, wasn't it? Yeah.
Now, Lee Anderson, love him or hate him, you can't ignore him.
Have we tried, though?
No, Martin, and we never will. This week, Lee started a social media storm again by making a typically provocative statement.
He shat himself in the middle of a supermarket.
And that's why we love him. So provocative. We spoke to him live from the supermarket that he shat himself in.
And we eventually got through to him after he'd spoken to The Telegraph, Talk TV, GB News, Spiked Online, Unheard, The Mail, The Express, BBC News, and Fox.
Let's take a listen. Now we're speaking to Lee live from the supermarket. Lee, tell us what's going on.
Hi Harriet. Well, I'm standing in the fresh fruit and veg aisle, and I am here. People are starting to look and sniff, and some avoid me, but I am very much in the supermarket, and I have messed myself.
Right. And can I ask, what was the decision? Why did you shit yourself in a supermarket?
Well, there's a thing that happens when you're an MP, especially in reform, when something can happen when people stop talking about you, and that's very damaging. So you've got to find a way of whether it's on X or whether it's in person to make people talk about you. And I needed something to talk about today on this call. So I thought, well, I've got a full bowel and I'm in Tesco. So I put two and two together, and here we are.
Right, so Lee, Boris Johnson quite famously spoke about swinging a dead cat, throwing a dead cat in a room in order to distract away from issues. But what you're doing here is you're sort of throwing a dead cat. In this case, it's actually your own human defecation. In order to distract towards yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm raising awareness, but not in a way like a hippie sort of snowflake way. I'm raising awareness for reform, which is strong and brave. But again, strong and brave, not in a hippie way.
But I would argue that reform is getting it's getting quite a few headlines at the moment. Nigel is very busy, and maybe we don't want to talk about the other one.
Well, we have been talking about the other one, and he's doing very well. He has different ways of raising his profile. I don't necessarily agree with certain ways, but whatever's bringing people to the cause, and what happens to be bringing people to the cause today is me shitting myself in Tesco.
Yeah, it is still quite hard. I think some of our listeners might struggle to understand why you've done that. It seems like you were already had quite an exciting time online of late. You comparing what was that the menopause to to being quite easy compared to the struggles that men have gone through. For example, the Battle of the Somme.
Do you regard this as a male issue, Lee? Pooing in the supermarket? Would a woman have found this something they could do?
Well, I think nowadays they probably would have wanted to poo themselves in a supermarket, but I don't know if they should be allowed to do that, because this is a man's sort of approach. This is a dangerous sort of thing that I've done here. Someone is going to have to clean it up, and I probably will ask a woman to do that. But I think it is something that can, women could try, but maybe start with pissing yourself in a greengrocer and work your way up.
Yes, I don't want to live in a world where people do that, really.
Well, it'd be very good for the podcast, I think, Harriet, because lots of people have joined Reform, and I think mostly it's because of the shit that's come out of me and Nigel.
Right, no, that is fair.
Places.
Just to be clear, this is not about incontinence. This is not the issue at hand here. You're not trying to raise awareness to the health
only continent I care about is the UK. It's my favourite continent.
Right, and you haven't eaten anything.
It's not a health matter in any sense.
Matter.
You've just gone there. You knew time came, and you thought, "Yeah, I'm going to do this for attention."
Well, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm inflaming the culture war. I'm drawing attention to reform. If Keir Starmer did this, well, he just wouldn't have the balls to do this, would he?
Or the bowels.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Oh. He might do a fart in his living room, but you're not going to see him pooing himself in a Tesco, like a real working man would do.
Just to be clearly, you are not. This isn't happening in the World Foods aisle. This isn't, a dirty protest against anything else.
Oh, I definitely would not be caught protesting unless it was for something like farmers or white people.
Right, so it's just dirty. Lee, what happens...
Well, you have to get your hands dirty in this job. People forget about that,
Are your hands dirty, Lee?
Well, of course, yeah. My hands are dirty because I work hard. Ex-coal miner.
No, but I meant...
since I started.
Are they dirty?
I think washing your hands is a little bit woke. I think we can all agree that.
Yeah, but
right,
Lee...
So Lee, to clarify, you're standing in a supermarket aisle in your own shit, and you haven't cleaned your hands.
Well, it would be redundant to clean them now because I'm going to have to change when I get home.
Yeah, no, that is a good point.
Yeah,
I will clean them. I'm not, I do think health is important, but what I'll be doing is giving them a cursory rinse under some warm water, and I won't be drying my hands properly, but I will wipe them on my trousers.
I take it you won't be singing Happy Birthday twice in order to make sure you've spent enough time doing...
I don't sing.
No,
don't. Music is not something that enters into my consciousness. I'm too busy thinking about coal and England.
Right.
Yeah, wonderful. Lee, what are the reactions of people in the supermarket? How are they reacting to you standing there in your own shit?
Lots of people come up to me and they've said to me, "Thank you so much for doing this, Lee." They've tried to buy me different bits of produce to say thank you. just now, a bloke who's a cab driver called Dave, he came up and gave me £50 and said, thanks very much. And I said, Dave, I don't need this. He said, no, you keep it. You're doing the Lord's work. And that helped me squeeze out a couple more.
So they could. I mean, I really think they should be buying you some sort of wet wipes or Pampers. Really, I think that would be more helpful.
I neither like wetness or being pampered, so I wouldn't have any of that. If somebody brought me a metal scourer, I'd probably use a bit of that, but I'm not going to use any of this soft wet wipes.
Lee, I've got to ask you, this is quite an audacious step for you, but it really doesn't leave much headroom for any further development. I mean, where from here? What's next for Lee Anderson after shitting himself in a Tesco's for attention?
Well, it's not for attention necessarily. Well, I suppose it is, but it's not in a pathetic way.
Right.
It's in like quite a clever and smart way.
Yeah.
But what's next is just listening to people and sharing their plight and changing things for the better. So maybe I'll vomit in a Sainsbury's. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So you've shat yourself in a Tesco's, and then you're going to listen to people's problems and be a good MP.
Well, it definitely seem like I'm going to, yeah.
Right. But there might be more incidents like this in the future.
Well, it depends how much attention I'm getting. It's all about views and clicks. And if a woman doesn't say something relatively innocuous online, and I can't compare that to, Passchendaele or Ypres, then I will have to do something in the flesh. So I will do that,
I'm just so glad that we spoke to you about this, because it's one of those news stories that you worry is just going to pass people by, isn't it?
I don't worry about that, actually, but I see what you're saying.
I just feel that people have a right to know that you are sat in a supermarket in your own shit, and we've got a duty to report that.
Yeah, and what I'm standing near and by is British produce, and I'm very proud of that. And that's why I didn't do this in the World Foods aisle. So, because I've never been to the World Foods aisle, actually.
Are you doing this for the farmers?
Well, I'm doing it for me, primarily. But, I suppose the farmers, a farmer actually just came up to me and gave me a hug and cried and
Right.
said...
It seems remarkable, Lee, that anyone's approaching you, considering you have shit yourself in the Tesco's. I mean, what's going through your head right now? Surely this can't have been what you
Yes, I can't imagine they'd want to hug you, Lee. I don't want to sort of...
No, several working real people have come up to me and said, and shook me by their dirty hand and said, thank you, and started crying. They often cry, but not in a weak way, in a manly and very important way. And they are approaching me because they see that, what I'm doing is I'm getting my hands dirty, I'm getting my bottom dirty for Britain and for the working people.
And how many interviews are you hoping to get in before security come and take you away?
Well, the security guards actually came up to me and said, thank you for doing this. You're amazing. You're so strong and brave. So I think actually some of them have tried to do a little poo as well in solidarity.
Okay, well, I mean, this is another concern, really. Is it? I mean, your influence as a politician, as a man of the people, do you
I don't think it's a concern. I'm quite impressed that it's inspiring people. I hope for a world where everyone votes reform, which is sort of the equivalent of everyone in the country completely shit in the bed and being messy for the rest of our history, but messy and English fundamentally.
Well, Lee, I think that's a beautiful note to end the interview on. Best of luck. I hope you get yourself some clean trousers soon. And
well, it depends if anyone's talking about me. I'll only change when something else comes along to distract me. But I'm sure I can say something problematic about a woman again soon, and I'll change my pants.
Sounds wonderfully noble. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Just a little bit more. Come out there.
Now, if you are enjoying the show, please consider supporting us by subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/noncensored, where for just £5 a month, you'll get the show without adverts before anyone else, as well as videos of all our segments and exclusive bonus podcasts. And as I said earlier, there'll be exclusive videos going up between now and Christmas that you won't hear on the podcast at all. So head over and sign up if you want to see that. Finally, Martin insisted that we talk about the events in South Korea.
You know they're the world's 9th largest importer and 9th largest exporter?
That just sounds inefficient. Anyway, President Yoon Suk-yeol addressed the nation and bravely refused to apologise. And we asked Eshaan Akbar to rate this non-apology in our regular segment, Non-Apology Watch. Let's take a listen.
I'm so not sorry that it's made me feel sorry for the not apology I'm sorry about. So I'm sorry not sorry that the not nature of the sorry isn't sorry enough, or not. Not.
Hello, Mr. Akbar. How are we?
Annyeong Kaseo. I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, lovely. What a lovely greeting. I don't know what it meant, but it sounded very jolly.
Yes, it is a greeting from a part of the world where I've got my story for you this week. So I thought I'd give it a bit of that flavour, maybe tease it for you. Any guesses as to what language I might have been speaking?
Is it Mexican?
No, I'll say it again. Annyeong Kaseo.
I think this is probably a little bit
Irish.
of... No, I think it's probably South Korean, Eshaan, if I'm not mistaken. And you're probably here to talk to us about the political unrest going on over there. Am I right?
Martin, I'm very impressed that you picked up so much from that. I'm actually slightly creeped out. Are you on my laptop? What's going on here?
No, I'm not. No, I just, I Duolingo from time to time. So that's where that comes from.
I'm very, very impressed. But yes, Producer Martin, you're right. I'm here to talk to you this week about what's been going on in South Korea, the land of fried chicken and K-pop and noodles.
And bibimbap.
Yeah, I mean, amongst other things, they're also, fully rounded humans with all sorts of beautiful
Also roads.
traditions.
They've got good
and
roads.
interests.
Pretty good
Right.
roads there. In any case, last week, a lot of fun stuff was happening in South Korea that is really quite interesting. The South Korean president, Yoon Suk-yeol, decided to declare martial law last week.
Oh.
And when he went to declare martial law, the military turned up at the government offices, but the South Korean people were able to deter the military away. And the martial law declaration lasted about 6 hours. So then, this is quite funny. A week later, a few days later, the president came out and he said, look, listen, hey, guys, you know that whole martial law thing? I just want you to know, I did it to prevent the collapse of democracy and counter the opposition's parliamentary dictatorship. Now, what I find very interesting about this is he has used a combination of words that usually don't go together, like parliamentary dictatorship. I think that's a new political idea.
It's not new in this country, Eshaan.
Well, yes. Why do you think we've got a parliamentary dictatorship in the UK?
Well, let's look at what Labour are doing. Absolutely horrible. I mean, yesterday I saw the tractors coming and they were so angry and upset.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, here we are. We're in a full-scale dictatorship.
Yes, right. Tractors do scream dictatorship, don't they?
They do indeed.
Tractorships.
Eshaan, that's the thing. We're talking about one of the most serious stories of the week, and you bring up that.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Thank you
There's
very much.
always time for a little joke. You really can make anything funny.
Well, I mean, I think that, perhaps a more keen example of a parliamentary dictatorship would perhaps be in Russia, the kind of thing that they've got over there. They've got, clearly one man in power and then a parliament that ostensibly is still voting things in, but ultimately at the beck and call of the tyrant.
I just want to take this opportunity to reassure any Russians listening, or either to this episode or somewhere in the dark web. I like you.
Why are you talking to the Russians?
I don't want to upset anybody. Russians are quite scary.
That is the opposite of how I thought you operated in the world, to be honest, Eshaan. I thought you liked offending everybody. That's usually what you do, and then I worry. I'm the one that worries about the things that you've said, and Harriet just sort of laughs and claps.
Well, some people are scarier than others. Anyway, I'm talking about the South Koreans. He then said, ahead of a second vote to potentially impeach him on Saturday, he came out and he said, I will not be impeached. I will stand firm whether I'm impeached or investigated, and I will fight to the end. And in a kind of semi-apology watch, I like it. I like this chutzpah. It's almost Trump-esque. Now, you need political leaders who are able to just say, I will fight to the end to protect my country from the parliamentary dictatorship. I'm going to declare martial law to save democracy. Because sometimes I think in the United Kingdom, we do need martial law to save democracy. Okay? Because democracy is an ass. Democracy allows silly people to vote. Democracy allows stupid people to vote. There should be a minimum IQ requirement to allow people to vote. Not everyone.
Democracy got us Labour.
Well, yes, after 14 years of Tory rule. So, I mean, look, the issue seems to be putting politics into the hands of the military. These are not people that we voted for. These are people that are very good at their jobs, but their job is defence.
And attack if you use them properly.
Well, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But are strong.
Are they the people that should be looking after, education, maintenance of...
Is we get our military to put out sandbags when they're flooding, right? That's what we use our military for in the UK. Nothing else. Just put out sandbags when it's flooding. They don't have any international operations. They're just putting out sandbags when there's flooding in Glossop. And that's not enough. We need to be able to say to them, you know what, military, you're strong. The men are strong. The women are strong. Are there non-binary people in the military?
Yeah, I think we have to now, where they're forced to. They have to put them in.
Well,
whether the non-binary people want it or not.
Yes,
I don't think the non-binary people are being forced into.
No, they are, Producer Martin, because they've got to fill the quotas.
Yes,
that's how it works now. And the army now have to have non-binary people and vegans.
Yeah.
Harriet, I'm not sure where you're getting this information from. I mean, I think everyone's allowed to join.
I also heard that the men in the military outnumbered the women, but in the last 3 years, there have been more women than men. Makes you think.
They're now forcing the army to have more women.
Yes.
So now you're only allowed 2 men in the army.
Yeah.
The rest are women, non-binary and vegans.
I don't know how many of the men are the women now, or how many men have left and more women have been recruited. I'm just saying it makes you think,
It does make you think.
I'm not sure.
It makes me think a lot.
What it makes you think about, it feels like maybe it should make you think, where am I getting this information? Is it correct?
Producer
correct.
Martin, it's correct.
Sorry, are you casting doubt as to whether there are more women in the military than men nowadays?
No, listen, my hot take on this is that perhaps we shouldn't have military intervention in politics, and that martial law is largely a bad thing to be deployed only in emergencies.
Producer Martin, what do you do when there's a parliamentary dictatorship?
Yes, what's your alternative? What do you do? What would you do?
Well, if it's the opposition, then clearly their dictatorship isn't that strong. Otherwise, they'd be in power. And if you're in Parliament, then you should use the levers of democracy in order to affect
the thing
change.
I don't mean you're saying they're not in power, but they're just irritating, aren't they? If the opposition is running a parliamentary dictatorship, it's just irritating, and you've got to get rid of them somehow. And the military is probably a good way of doing it.
Right.
Have you never wondered? Oh.
And also, when has a military dictatorship ever gone wrong?
Yeah. If you think about it, it's the discipline is good. People are scared of the military, right? They're regimented. Okay. I think it's good for a state every so often to have a military dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, I agree to disagree, but if it does go that way in South Korea, at least we know they'll have a lot of good vegan food available to them.
Producer Martin, I thought that was a rather cruel callback to my information earlier that vegans are being forced to go in the army.
Vegan bibimbap, I'd eat that. I'd eat vegan bibimbap.
It sounds delicious, doesn't it?
Also, vegan fried chicken is actually pretty good these days.
No, I don't believe in vegan food.
Neither do I, but I had it by mistake. I should have known. I was on a date and she hadn't shaved her armpits.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
It's a sign. Well, Eshaan, thank you once again for imparting your wisdom and opinions. And I think we can all agree that actually maybe we should do something about our parliamentary dictatorship. Well, that's it for now. We'll be back next week. So in the meantime, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and remember that there's loads of stuff on our Patreon. patreon.com/noncensored. So if you enjoy the show, please do support us if you can. With thanks to Rosie Holt, Brenda Murphy, Eshaan Akbar, Sooz Kempner, Will Sebag-Montefiore, and Ed Morrish. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and we'll be back next week with more Non-Censored.